Welcome in, everybody. You're listening to SEC State of Mind presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Taylor Davis, and he is Jason Campbell messing with his microphone. Here we are, everybody. It's been a couple weeks. It's a crazy time of year around here. Your girl in the thick of gymnastics season, which is a very exciting time. The regular season is winding down. We're about 3 weeks away from the SEC championship, which is awesome. But the travel is definitely catching up with me. Going straight from football to gymnastics is always a whirlwind. So appreciate the patience of JCam and our colleagues at Believe for being flexible with me. But we're back. We got an episode this week, and it's a good week to jump back in because a lot's going on right now. We're just a couple weeks away from the SEC basketball tournament, and the field is still kind of up for grabs, mostly 2 and down. It feels like the one spot's pretty solidified, but we'll talk about that. Baseball season is a couple weeks into it, and we got some football news that's been circulating as of late, creating more conversation as to the future of some of these programs that are a couple weeks away from starting spring ball. So we welcome you in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as always. JCam, it's also NFL Combine Week. And let's go ahead and start there. I wasn't planning to do that, but let's go ahead and start there because we talk a lot about how football has changed and the landscape and the emphasis on positions, players, priorities. Do you think that makes the combine change in its importance? Like, does this give a different platform for guys to kind of showcase a different side to themselves than we're seeing in college ball?
I think combine is still very important. It's an opportunity to get in front of the GMs, get in front of the owners, the coaching staffs, and to present yourself, your character, because behind those closed doors, they're going to dissect every part of you. They're going to put you on the board, see if you know how to write up a defense, if you're a quarterback, see if you know how to dissect different blitzes. How do you pick up blitzes? Like, what are your reads, your progressions, those type of things. And then they get into the personal aspect of who you are, your background. If you gotten in trouble before, why did these things happen? Can you explain yourself? So it gets very, very detailed. And then from that standpoint, then the competitive side is, okay, the on the field drills, right? I think a lot of the drills are unique. They're, an opportunity to see guys' explosiveness, but the real telling is still on the film. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. So most of these teams already have their minds made up on where they want to draft guys mostly, but you can improve your draft stock if you go in there and you make a team just fall in love with you. All you need is one team to just fall in love with you, and then all of a sudden they had you drafted in another round. They want to move up, a couple more spots just to take you because they feel like you fit their locker room, you fit what they're looking for as a team in that aspect. And there's agents at these combines, right? A lot of these agents represent a lot of these college kids too. So now you got college coaches going to combines,
Right.
Sometimes, and then you have general managers. So it's so many people that's at the combine to meet and greet these young people, and it's based on an interview. You are interviewing, and this is one of the next two that's going to come. And what I mean by that is pro day. Pro day will be your second opportunity. So I like most of the drills. The only one I really don't like is hard for quarterbacks, where you throw the ball 2 times and then you go back and get in the back of a line. You got to wait like for 15 other guys to throw before you throw again. Like, there's no rhythm, there's no format to that for a wide receiver and a quarterback connection. That's the only thing I don't like about it. I wish they could do a better drill that gives the quarterbacks an opportunity to get into a rhythm and a flow. But I know it takes a little bit more time, but if this that important of the position, why not? So, but this is combine week, and it's an exciting time for these young men, and there are plenty that got invited. There's some that didn't get invited that still may get drafted. And there's some that got invited that won't get drafted. And that's just typically how it goes every year.
So do you feel, because I agree with you, I think that your body of work, I compare it to like when you're applying for college, and I am a firm believer that your GPA should be counted way more than like your ACT or SAT score. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think that showcases what kind of a student you're going to be to that university because you had a good day on a test. It's kind of the same thing with the combine. Like, you can improve it a little bit and you can start to turn some heads, but like, I think your body of work is really getting majority of the emphasis in the film and what they've seen of you. But do you feel in today's version of football that the combine could hurt your draft stock? Like, because, like you said, the interview portion is big. And I kind of feel like if I'm a GM, I'm hitting some hard questions in those interviews because you can't really get a ton from these coaches that had this guy for 1 year. I'm sorry, but like that's not really going to be able to tell me what kind of a teammate he's been when he was with your program for 1 year. And there has been an element of he jumped 3 times. So what is that going to tell me about his locker room dynamic? Like, to me, I also see an increase in the potential that the combine could hinder you a little bit if you don't do well, because if I'm a GM in today's version of college football, I have a lot of questions about some of those intangibles.
No, you had a great analogy. You talk about taking an SAT or ACT, right, compared to your GPA. Your GPA has been there for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it took you years to develop that. Some people just doesn't test well, like
Right.
ACT or SAT. Sometimes it freaks them out a little bit, right? And they don't test well. You end up missing out on a great student because of that. So it's the same way when it comes to the combine. GMs and personnel people and scouts, they have to be very careful in how they're interviewing the process, because you can't get hung up on what the kid just said in the room, period. You still got to go back to the film. You still got to go back. Uh, they go all the way back to your high school teacher.
Yeah.
They really dissect every part of you. And like you said, the hard part about now, if a kid's been to 3 different schools in 4 years, now you got to interview 3 different other coaches that
Mm-hmm.
he played for. So it's more important for these kids now, if you do decide to leave a program, how you leave a program.
Yeah.
It's going to pay into this, because there's different coaches going to have different things to say about you based on what you did at that school and based on how you handle situations. Because when you
Right.
get to the NFL, if something doesn't go your way, you can't pick up and just say, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're on the contract for 4 or 5 years or 3 years.
Right.
So there's no transfer portal, and I think that's the thing. Like, does this kid do well? If something that goes his way, can we still depend on him in the NFL? That's a
Yeah.
real question.
Right.
And if you've been a bunny hopper from grasshopper, I should say, from every year because of this and that, it could hurt you in the draft. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've been a person that's kind of been at a school, 3, 4 years, I would say you made one transfer, and everyone kind of understood why you made that one transfer. I don't think that hurts you. If you look at Trinidad Chambliss, we'll talk about him in a minute. Had he
Mm-hmm.
gone pro, everybody in the world would have understood why he left and went to Ole Miss.
Sure.
In that situation. Carson Beck, most people kind of understand when he left Georgia and went to Miami, right? The writing was kind of on the wall that Georgia kind of wanted to move on. Plus, Beck wanted a new opportunity, right? So it's those type of things. But the ones that get you are the ones that just transfer. Like, why did he transfer? He just had a great year. They
Mm-hmm.
had a great season. What made him transfer? That's going to
Yeah.
be the real question. Most of them going to say, well, coach, I got offered more money.
Right.
And some of them going, may say, I just didn't feel like I fit what was going on. I'm just going to say, how? You had a great
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So
You
we'll see.
mentioned the difficulties of the combine for the quarterbacks, and that's an interesting element, and I would imagine it may make some of them weigh, hey, does this have potential to hinder me if I go out and I can't get into a rhythm? And I can't remember who it was, but this happened a couple years ago where videos went viral of one of the quarterbacks out throwing everybody, and it was very off. I cannot remember for the life of me who it was, but it was fairly recent. If you had to go again, would you still go throw with the combine? Do you see it beneficial to throw there, or would you wait until your pro day with your guys?
I really looked at my pro day. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm projected first round draft pick, I'm not throwing in the combine,
Okay.
just because I can only hurt myself and not getting into a rhythm. That's just like you going to play a basketball game without going through the layup line and a warm up, getting warm up shots.
Right.
Like, you go directly into throwing, and I don't get a chance to throw again for who knows, 3, 4 minutes may
Yeah.
go by before I get an opportunity to get up there and throw again. And I don't really know the guy that I'm throwing to. That's not football. Football, you actually practice with the guys you're throwing to, spring practice, summer, during the
Yeah.
season. It's not like you go out there and we just go say, hey, we're gonna play a game out in the streets and street ball, and we're gonna go suit it up and go play the next day. That's not how football works.
Right.
So you're asking them to actually do a drill that doesn't really translate to how it actually works with quarterbacks and receivers. So that's why I say, but if you're a third, fourth round guy, you're like, hey, you know what? I can make slide up by showing my arm strength in person. Then yeah,
True.
I would throw if I'm them, because at
Yeah.
that point in time, I need to showcase even more because I'm trying to move up in the draft.
Right. So the top two being talked about at the quarterback position, obviously Fernando Mendoza. So you don't think Mendoza should throw at the combine?
I don't think he should throw at the combine.
I don't really see the need.
Yeah, he's a projected first pick to the Raiders.
Right.
And your resume speaks for itself as far as the film.
Correct.
So, and you're gonna throw at pro day anyways.
Right. So what about Ty Simpson?
Ty Simpson, he really doesn't have to throw at the pro day.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's like everyone's kind of questioning what arm strength does Ty has.
That's why I
So
kind of think
that
maybe
may-
he
for him,
should.
his agent may say to him, hey, we need you to throw,
Right.
because now we have all the teams, GMs, head coaches here at one time.
Yep.
So if there's any question about your arm strength, it could be answered today.
Correct.
So that way, when they come to the pro day, they've already seen that part of it. Now they get a chance to see it for a second time. So if I'm Ty Simpson, I probably will throw.
Yep.
Just because that has been a question mark. Can he throw more than 20 yards on a
Yep.
rope, which it takes to hit some of those deep throws in the NFL?
Yep.
And that's been and even when I watched him play this year, that would be my question mark. Like, he can make underneath throws,
Yep.
but I haven't seen him make routinely throws on the rope deeper than 20 yards. And I think that may be the only thing that they may question, because his toughness is there.
Correct. Well, and the rumblings toward the end of their season around his health, around his injuries. Apparently, he has put on a little bit of weight since that ended, which is good because he had lost a little bit. So I think it would actually benefit him because it does have the potential to answer some questions that have still been out there since football ended. Those don't really exist for Fernando Mendoza right now. So I agree with you. It's a very nuanced situation, though. I think to a lot of people at face value, you hear that you got an invite to the combine, and it's like, well, of course, go show out. But there's little caveats to that, and you got to play it smart. So there will be several SEC players out there representing a few notables. Wide receiver from Mississippi State, Brennan Thompson. Obviously, Ty Simpson, quarterback from Alabama. Brandon Sis, cornerback from South Carolina. Zachariah Branch, wide receiver from Georgia. And a few others, just to name a few. But very exciting, and it means that we're getting close to the NFL draft, which is one of my favorite days of the year. Well, multiple days, but the NFL draft is always so exciting, and to be expected, the SEC is going to have a pretty strong showcase yet again. So best of luck to all the guys that are headed to Indy this weekend to participate in the combine. We'll keep eyes on all the reports and videos out of that one. I always love to see who's got the fastest 40 time and if the record has been topped. So we'll report on all of that next week on that episode. But a few other notable stories that we have updates on coming out of the SEC as far as football goes. The biggest being the news out of Oxford. The saga finally has an ending, and it's a happy one for the Ole Miss faithful. Trinidad Chambliss has been cleared for another year of eligibility. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this thing was done a couple months ago. He's been told no several times. It seemed like it just wasn't going to be able to be finagled, but alas, a certain judge, a certain piece of evidence, whatever it took, he's coming back. And that means really, really good things for Ole Miss in terms of continuity, consistency, and just continuing to build on what was honestly a diamond in the rough in Trinidad Chambliss. No one knew. So imagine this guy with a full offseason spring ball as the guy. You assume it's just going to be another step forward for him. An interesting side note is, the backup quarterbacks, as we discussed on the last episode, that have been in a little bit of limbo, wondering if it was going to be their shot. And now it's not. So I think it's yet again a good example of you got to be really intentional and really careful with these decisions, because any university is going to tell you you're going to be the guy because they want to get you there. But then matters fall into place and they ultimately got to pick their guy. And in this case, it's Chambliss. So just an interesting side story to all of that, but wanted to get your take on Trinidad Chambliss, a guy that we were all very impressed by in this first year of D1 ball for him, getting another go.
Yeah, we kind of expected this a little bit, right? From the simple fact that he's been denied a couple of times through the NCAA. We kind of already knew that this would may be an opportunity for Trinidad to come back based off the simple fact that the judge is making a decision, went to law school at Ole Miss. Like, come on. Like
There's
we
that.
knew that. It didn't matter what the NCAA said. It didn't matter what anybody else say. When it came down to the state, I knew he was going to get passed because of what we just said. So, and the simple fact is, he's coming back for another year. It's a gamble on his part too, though, Taylor,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, Lane Kiffin recruited you, and your offensive coordinator recruited you to Ole Miss. They're both at LSU now.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew your ability, they knew your talent, and you fit their system. Now, will they run a similar system this year or not? I don't know. But if they do, it's still not the same people that brought you there calling the plays and utilizing the talent around you, because that receiving core has also transferred.
Mm.
So there's been a lot of transfers. So it's going to be a different football team under a new head coach who's a defensive minded head coach, not an offensive minded head coach. And you got to deal with all these different scenarios. Yes, a lot of things bounced your way last year, but a lot of the team has been depleted. So
Mm-hmm.
now there's going to be a lot of people targeting at you this year. And I thought this year was a better chance for him to go ahead and go pro when you look at the quarterback
Sure.
and you think about all the guys that's on that board. Like, he probably came off number 3 or number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Where now you come back next year, it may be a deeper quarterback board next year,
It
but
will
you
be.
also got to have a similar year that you just had this year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Deuce Knight, if it's lesson learned for all these young guys,
Yeah.
you can't listen to what people tell you somewhere else that, hey, you're going to be guaranteed a starting job here. I already keep telling these guys, there's no guarantees anywhere. And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody's saying you're guaranteed something, they're lying to you. Like, you have got to go out and you got to earn it. Like, and that's the only way you're going to get that job. You're fooling yourself. You think Trinidad Chambliss was going to get another year to come back to Ole Miss, and they're not going to start him.
Yeah.
Like, they're paying him to be the starter, and he's going to be the face of the program and the face of the university, at least for this football season.
Right.
And you haven't done enough just yet at this level for them to say, hey, we're going to bench a quarterback that took us to the game before the national championship and just roll with a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
I said, you're talented, you're good, but at the end of the day, this kid has proven himself already, and he's already labeled as one of the top leaders in college football. So
Right.
it put yourself in that situation, which you want them to give a redshirt freshman your job after you've already proven yourself and broke all kind of records and sent Ole Miss their best season in history.
Of course
No
not.
way.
That's not even a real possibility.
Yeah, no way. So sometimes you have to think for yourself in these situations and understand, and that's why you get around people that's experienced in these type of conversations. That's gonna be real with you and be honest, because that's the thing. A lot of these kids, they just jump on what sounds good to make them feel good instead of just someone just telling them the reality. And now you base your decision off the reality. But at the end of the day, Trinidad coming back to college football, it's gonna be great for the SEC,
Right.
and it's gonna be great. Come third game of the year for LSU and Ole Miss when they hook up in Oxford.
Can you imagine? That game is going to be nuts. I mean,
Mhm.
there's no other word. It's going to be the game that we're all talking about for the next, I don't know, 6 months until football's back. But yeah,
Stuff more than a game. So
I know.
will Lane even get a chance to get there on time? How many roadblocks are they gonna try to set?
Seriously. They're going to have every security member in Oxford in the state of Mississippi, because the bottles and whatever else that will be thrown onto it's going to be wild. But I think I think he's going to have a great year. I think that Ole Miss is not going to drop off. That's my very, very early prediction. It just feels like the guys that did remain, including Trinidad, obviously took so much from last year, both the highs and the debated lows that program went through. They felt slighted. They felt ignored in a lot of ways. And so I just think that with Pete Golding at the helm, they're going to put people in place that just continue what they found to be a success last year. So I think this is great news for Ole Miss fans. I definitely hear you about, the decision that Trinidad had about going pro this year, but ultimately he's got a great situation in Oxford and seemed to really freaking love playing college ball and wanted another shot at it. So
So you
can't
pay me
blame him.
$1 million. I'm gonna love playing college football too.
Half of them are trying to stay after
Right, like
dabbling in
it's
the
kind of
league. So
back
he's
in the
not in a
day,
hurry.
no pro.
Yeah. Now, the opposite situation has happened in Knoxville. They were trying to get Joey Aguilar another year of eligibility as well. His has officially been denied. He will head to the NFL draft as well. And timing doesn't necessarily work out best for them. Not that I think Heupel would have initially wanted to do this, even if he knew Joey wasn't coming back. But at this point, you can't go back into the transfer portal. So your situation now is a young guy versus a younger guy. Those are your options right now in Tennessee. Both very highly touted, exciting, but young and inexperienced. So, yet again, Tennessee is going to have to field a brand new quarterback. It's the 5th time in 5 seasons that they're going to have a different starting quarterback. And that is very difficult to get any sort of traction and momentum. And yes, we're seeing different starting quarterbacks year after year, but it's usually transfers. It's usually a Carson Beck coming in for one more year. This upcoming year, it's going to be Brendan Sorsby going to Texas Tech for one more year. Like, the fact that it's 5 different starting quarterbacks and it also has includes some unproven younger guys is a very, very tough task. But ultimately, he was denied another year of eligibility. So they've got George McIntyre, who is a former 4-star recruit. He's been there for a year. He's learned the system. He is 6'6". They say he's put on muscle, and he has been there, learned the system, gotten to be a true backup at the place that you anticipate he's going to be holding the reins. So there's a lot of positive talk about him. We'll see in spring ball what kind of sample we get to see of him. But there's also a true freshman that has a lot of buzz because he's a 5-star and was the number 3 overall player in that class. I believe his name is Faison. I'm so sorry. I will learn how to pronounce it. I promise when he starts playing. Faison Brandon is his last name. And so he's in the wings as well. And it does kind of feel indicative of the similar situation that Heupel had a few years ago when he was sticking with Joe Milton, but Nico Iamaleava was a true freshman on the sideline, and that fan base was clamoring to see him because he was a highly rated, highly touted, blah, blah, blah. Everyone thought this was going to be the answer. Funny how that happens because now that fan base can't stand him. But whatever, I digress. That's why coaches have to block out all of that because it's like what's going to appease you right now is going to piss you off tomorrow. So it doesn't freaking matter, and I can't take your opinion into account with this. But very, very young, inexperienced guys to run a system like they like to run at Tennessee. Spring ball, I would imagine, is going to be incredibly important in Knoxville.
So you're talking about 2 different scenarios, right? So you think about Ole Miss situation. To get Deuce Knight was a safety, it was a safety net, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, if Trinidad can't come back, at least we got a highly touted 5-star kid out of high school from the state of Mississippi back in this program, right? So from that standpoint, that's a safety net. But you look at Tennessee, okay, they do have a 5-star quarterback there as well, right? But Aguilar is a guy to me that when it got past January 20th something, I feel like he needed to start turning his attention towards the NFL to prepare for the combine.
Sure.
Because at some point you're preparing for both. And I already said I knew Trinidad, there was a 90% chance of him getting that back because of the judge going to law school at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wasn't finna have that on his resume of denying Trinidad Chambliss another year.
Right.
Not the same situation for Joey Aguilar.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you knew it because, and as well, Trinidad missed the whole year because of a sickness or something that happened when he was at his other school.
Mm-hmm.
Aguilar actually played at Appalachian State.
Yep.
So 2 different scenarios, both guys trying to get another year. But for Tennessee, you might have kept your top quarterback longer because as you brought back Aguilar and say you don't start off 5-0 or you don't start off 6-0 and you're 4-2 or whatever, everybody's gonna start screaming for the young guy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
like
So
clockwork. Yeah.
yeah, so if you're in his situation, why even put yourself in that? Because now if you get benched, that just hurt your draft stock for the following year.
It's true.
So unless you can look at that roster and say, we got a guaranteed shot to go win a national championship or go make the playoffs and compete for an SEC championship first to get to the playoffs, then yes, I'm trying my best to get back in that seat.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a guaranteed spot and you know there's a young, talented 5-star sitting there, it may not even depend on what you do. If
Right.
your record is 4-2, there's playing a young guy because the Noah's going to say, we got to get ready for our future.
Mhm.
And then the coach going to say, I need to save my job because Heupel, as good as he's been at Tennessee, there's still warm water right now with
Yeah.
him in Tennessee. Like people
Yeah.
want to see him beat Georgia. They
Mhm.
want to see him actually, they made the playoffs 2 years ago, but they want to see him get to an SEC championship game.
Right.
So the fan base right now, they want more.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, it would have been more pressure if you brought Aguilar there. And I would say you start off 4-2, it makes his seat hotter.
Yeah.
Whereas Aguilar's out there, you playing a true freshman, people gonna give you a little bit of leeway because you have a young guy and they know you have to give him time. So the head coach bought himself a little bit more time, and he also get a chance to roll with one of his young guys and get them going. So if you're going to build a future and you're going to stop this rotation of quarterbacks 5 for 5 in a row, then this is your perfect chance to say for 3 years in a row.
It's very true.
They can get off that train now. So this may work out for them from that standpoint, which is totally different than the opposite with Ole Miss. So
Yeah.
intriguing situations, but I think it's it worked out probably for Tennessee and Coach Heupel the best that he didn't come.
Yeah. It will be, we mentioned it on the last episode, but the quarterback position in the SEC is going to be a very interesting element to follow. I believe 6 of the 16 teams will have a returning starter at quarterback. The rest of them are new. Like, that is wild. So it is going to be a lot of learning and a lot of, it feels like the field is going to be pretty open again. I mean, you can look at the big dogs and see that they're continuing in terms of recruiting and roster retention and what have you. But when you've got a new guy at the helm and in terms of on the field, you've got a new guy holding the reins, building timing with an offensive line, with a wide receiver grasping the system like that, it's going to be a really interesting piece of this thing. So we will see how spring ball goes with a lot of those new faces.
So you think about those veteran quarterbacks, right? Start with Texas, and then you got Georgia with Stetson Bennett, right? Well, not Stetson
Throwback. Gunner Stockton.
Oh, throwback. Gosh, my.
I don't know what year we just went back to, but go off, Jay. Lord help.
No. Who do you put more pressure on going into the 2026 season that has a veteran quarterback that has to do it this year?
Texas.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right.
I would say it's Texas, Texas A&M, and Georgia.
Yeah.
All three are returning top quarterbacks in the SEC, and they all have strong defenses.
Right.
And but I have to say Texas because they've loaded that roster up with so much talent around Arch. You got 2 of the best receivers in the country, and you got a run game, you got a defense,
and there is no more pressure on any single player than Arch Manning.
All right, and this is his 4th year in the system with Sarkisian. So
it's put up or shut up for Texas.
Yeah, for Texas. And A&M, they'll be there, but can they finish off a season? And Georgia has been there.
They'll be there again.
They'll be there again competing. So
yeah.
I think it starts with those 3 as far as like the most pressure to get it done this year based off who they have at the position.
I don't know which way to do it.
LSU is the other one. Yeah, Sam Leavitt.
With Sam Leavitt and Lane and all the chaos that all of that was, they didn't go through all of that to have a 8-4 season.
All right, number 1 transfer portal class, right? Spent a bunch of money. But my difference with them is the quarterback's coming from a different place and meeting the head coach there. Where those other guys, the head coach and the quarterbacks have been there.
It's continuity.
For a couple of years. It's continuity. Mm-hmm. Like I think it takes LSU a couple of games to build that continuity. They're gonna have to win some big ones early.
Right.
you just don't spring together a football team, and I feel like you just go win the Natty.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna have them pick to go win the Natty. That's hard to do over
Year
country.
one. It's true.
So that's why I say we'll see what happens. But those three, I think, is the most pressure. And then LSU is going to be pressure because the money they spent, the
Yeah.
transfer portal, they're going to say, we're giving you everything. They don't care about continuity. They want to see wins.
Yes, that's why they went through everything they did, and they have written the check that they have for him. So, will be very interesting to see. There's a few programs that will be starting spring ball this week. None in the SEC. I think like Colorado, Clemson, Nebraska, and BYU all start before February is over. So we will start having some college football on grass here in a couple weeks. It's crazy, but we will take literal crumbs at this point of the year. But it is also in the thick of basketball season, and in the SEC, the parity just continues. Aside from Florida still leading the pack, that has kind of been the case for the past few weeks. The rest of it just continues to shuffle. This past Saturday, a couple unexpected results. Auburn took down Kentucky, a bit of a controversial ending. Arkansas won, Georgia won. The SEC actually leads the nation right now with 56.3% of its teams ranked in the top 40 of NCAA's net ranking. So very strong showing. And obviously, like we've said, the SEC tournament in Nashville is going to be wide open because of the parity. My family has just decided to continue to shout out Todd, who wants to talk right now. Sorry, Dad, I'm recording. I'll call him back. But anyway, Florida is on a 7-game win streak currently. They are the first power conference team since 1996 to win 4 straight conference road games by at least 19 points. And the reason I pulled that stat is because Florida's not just winning. Florida is commanding right now, and they are doing it on the road. They are doing it when they have the target on their back, and they're doing it by at least 19 points. Like this team, it's hard to pick against Florida right now. They've got it all. So that's really the one that everyone's kind of chasing right now. They're 12-2 in the SEC. Bama, Arkansas, and Tennessee all at 10-4 right behind them. Arkansas and Tennessee have both been led by a lot of youth. They've got these stud freshmen. Arkansas's Darius Acuff had 49 points against Alabama. I'm sorry. I don't even know how that's freaking possible, but yeah. And then Tennessee's Nate Ament is averaging 21 points and 7.5 rebounds in the last 2 wins over Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. So that's kind of where things sit right now. Again, a lot of fluctuation. We've got Arkansas against Texas A&M tomorrow, Florida against Texas. Saturday, you've got 2 top 25 matchups with Alabama against Tennessee and Arkansas against Florida, as well as Kentucky and Vanderbilt facing off for the second time. So as we're a couple weeks away from the SEC tournament, Jay, is there a team that you really feel like needs to go make a strong statement in these next couple of weeks?
Well, right now you say Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and Missouri and Kentucky are probably already in the tournament, right?
They're solid, yeah.
So you look at the rest. You think Texas, Georgia, Auburn, right? Like those 3 teams to me really have to make a statement over their next 3 games.
Yep.
I think there was a big win for Auburn on Saturday. That thing could have went either way there at the end.
Yeah.
Auburn's got to learn how to close games better.
Yeah.
They do a good job of fighting back in games and they get the lead, but the one against Mississippi State hurt them, just going their way right there at the end. And they gave up 46 points that night, to win there. And then you look at Texas, right? They're 17 and 10 overall, 8-6 in the conference. Everyone knows this is a deep conference. People know that, right? So I think as long as these teams can finish even in their conference or 1 win above in their conference, I think they make the tournament. And how you perform when you get to Nashville, you need to win your first game.
Yes.
Like, you can't get to Nashville and lose your first game. That really hurts your chances. If you got a team somewhere else that they're kind of comparing you against and they run deep into their tournament,
right?
Now all of a sudden it's about momentum, right? So you don't want to be a team to get lost and forgotten about because you got exited from the tournament early in Nashville. So those 3 teams need to push forward hard over the next 3 weeks, and they also need to find a way to win that first game in Nashville. Now, out of those 3, not because we went to Auburn, but Auburn has a leg up because of their quad one victories, right? And then because of their schedule, you beat St. John, you played Houston, went down to the wire, so you played solid teams
Mm-hmm.
and you won some of those solid games against, and you beat Arkansas, right? So there's a lot of big wins on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Helps them because of their quad one. I think they had one of the top 2 to 3 toughest schedules in the nation.
Yeah.
So because of that, if they can finish even in the conference or one above, I think that notches them in above Georgia and Texas because of their schedule.
Okay. Our friends over at FanDuel have done a lot of odds around projecting the tournament. We've got one on the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube, the odds around Auburn making the field of 68. It's such a conundrum for me with this Auburn team because like a lot of SEC programs this year, there's been a lot of up and down. I mean, I told you several of my colleagues that cover college basketball told me early on Vanderbilt's the best team we've seen, like without question. And then they kind of drifted out. And Auburn has shown glimpses. They've had some big wins, and that team is stacked. So then the inability to put the games away against Alabama, Vanderbilt, they go on that losing stretch. You start to wonder, okay, is it just has it been gone? And we all know the somewhat controversy around some star guys being benched during games, and Stephen Pearl, just having to say they didn't uphold the standard. And so whatever's going on in all of that in his first year at the helm, I do recognize the need for a new coach, even if he was, there under Bruce Pearl, setting his own tone and making his own statements heard, and making sure that all of that is put into place very early. But it does make you really scratch your head as far as what is the true core and potential and ceiling of this team. I don't think we have the answer to that for Auburn or for a few of these other ones. Like, I think that the next couple of weeks, especially with some of the matchups that I just mentioned, especially some top 25 ones this weekend, and then a tournament as stacked as the SEC tournament's going to be in a couple weeks, you really do have a great platform to make a statement. Like, the benefit of being in a stacked conference is what you do echoes. What you do is going to carry with it a lot of weight when the bracket's finally decided upon. So it's go time for a lot of these programs, and Auburn really being one of them. If you don't know who you are, you better freaking figure it out right now, because you've got about 3 weeks to prove who you are. So very exciting time in basketball. We're also into baseball season, which means we're getting close to warm weather, and I can't even tell you guys how bad I need it. I am over the winter. It is terrible. But SEC, yet again, correct me if you've heard this before, SEC's deep in baseball. Who's surprised? Not me. However, Tennessee shockingly lost their series last weekend to Kent State, which is interesting. It dropped them 8 spots, and obviously we are very early, only 2 weeks. It's, sky ain't falling or anything, but it is just kind of like Jason's reaction. It's like, okay, didn't really see that coming. But 12 SEC teams are currently ranked in D1 baseball's top 25, which is basically half the dang ranking, which is impressive. LSU, Texas, Mississippi State sitting at the top, all unbeaten. Auburn had 1 loss. Arkansas had 1 loss. No one's lost a series other than Tennessee. So strong start in baseball, and kind of like basketball, you anticipate that a lot of these conference series are going to be pretty freaking good.
The thing about baseball, it's like basketball to me. It's all about who's hot on that day
At the right time.
right?
Yep.
Like, you could be a great basketball team, and all of a sudden you have an off night, anybody can beat you.
Yep.
It's the same way in baseball. If you can't hit the ball that night, you're in trouble.
Or if your pitching's off.
Yeah, your pitching's off. So many things have to fall in place for you to be at your best.
Yeah.
When it comes to those 2 sports. Football, a team can hit you in the mouth early on. They can play with you for a quarter or 2, but eventually the weight is going to outweigh at the end of the day.
The cream rises.
Yeah. Right. You can't do it for 4 quarters and get away with it. But you can in basketball, and you can in baseball, and you can in golf. Right?
True.
So those sports, you really have to make sure that you're really dialed and focused in each time you approach the field. And it's better to lose early than to lose late.
True.
Because early, if you was feeling yourself a little bit, and now it humbles you, and now coach got your attention more. So now he
Right.
can coach you a little bit harder because now the proof is in the pudding. You just lost to Kent State if you're Tennessee.
Yeah.
So now, hey, stop feeling yourself, stop reading the clippings, and let's get going. If
Right.
you're some of these other teams, like people are coming for you. Auburn almost made it to the thing last year. Who was it that beat them? Was
To
it
the
Western
thing.
Carolina? I mean, yeah, to the they almost
That's
made it
the
Omaha.
official term.
Yeah, the official term. Yeah,
Yeah,
Omaha.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
We're gonna call it the thing, but Omaha.
College
But
World Series.
they lost to West Carolina. But what happened? They went all the way to the finals.
Uh-huh.
They got hot.
Yeah.
They knocked off a couple of teams. So that's what I'm saying. And LSU this time last year wasn't even good in baseball
I know.
halfway during the season. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, they get hot and they go on to win a thing.
I
So
know.
it's just crazy. That's how baseball is. It not to me, it doesn't matter in the beginning who's the top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
It only matters who gets hot at the end of the year. It's the same thing going to March Madness. It doesn't
Right.
matter who start off hot in November, December, January. It's who's getting hot heading into tournament time.
Yep.
Those are the teams that go deep in the tournament and pretty much have a chance to win it. So
You're
those
right.
is what make baseball unique when it comes time to go to Omaha, and what makes basketball unique when it's time to go to March Madness,
Heck yeah.
because it's about who's hot and who's not.
Yep. And who can handle the moment when the moment comes. And the reality is the moment ain't really there yet in baseball. I do think it's just interesting because I doubt it would have been in so many articles and talked about so much on social media if it weren't the first year without Tony Vitello. Like him no longer being there is already such a what he was to them, and now what are they without him, and to lose a series so early. I think just that combination. The sky ain't falling in Knoxville. That team is still stacked. They're still primed to go on a run, but it is just, I think it made people's antennas go up a little bit just given the change that transpired. But that is what's going on. It's also, like I said, very thick into gymnastics season. We've got a couple more weeks of the regular season. This week, just another showcase of how insane the SEC is this year. We kind of plan out not we, it's way above my pay grade. Management plans out ahead of season, schedules and what TV window, which meets are going to be on. And you kind of are going with the expectation around the teams, right? Well, LSU is hosting Alabama this weekend, and it is now a top 3 matchup. And let me just tell you, that wasn't necessarily expected. We knew that both teams were going to be fantastic, but at this point of the season, to have a 2 versus 3 matchup, it's just the SEC does not slip in gymnastics. It is crazy. So if you are not watching, now is a really great time to pay attention. Oklahoma sits in the number 1 spot with LSU behind them at 2. That was a very close one. They faced off this past weekend. Bama's at 3. Florida's at 4. I mean, like, it's wild right now. And a lot of these teams are going to be facing off in the coming weeks. And then we'll have the SEC championship happening March 20th, 21st that weekend. So great time to be paying attention to all the sports around the conference because it's deep and it's talented and it's entertaining. So
did you partake in gymnastics growing up?
I cheered. So I had to take tumbling, and I believe I took a gymnastics class when I was 4. And I can't say I was, the next Simone Biles. So got on out of there real fast. But I have always been familiar and aware. And then I worked on gymnastics as a production assistant for ESPN. So I learned a crap ton then.
Yeah, I always wondered, because cheer, gymnastics, ballet all go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
And I always wondered that. My little goddaughter, man, she's a stud at Ronnie's daughter at gymnastics.
Really?
Yeah, she's gonna be known nationwide.
Let's go. How old?
Right now I think she's 9 or 10.
Let's go.
But
They start early. I mean, they're getting college offers, no joke, at 13.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Her videos is wow.
Are you saying Ronnie Brown's?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh my gosh, what if that Auburn presence continues and she competes at Auburn? I'm not putting that on her. She can go wherever she wants, but it would be pretty cool.
Oh,
well, maybe I'll be covering her one day.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
She's really, really good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, a lot of really incredible talent across collegiate gymnastics right now. So that Alabama LSU meet will be on SEC Network Friday night. So if you are sitting around hanging, tune in, watch some gymnastics. But lots of exciting things ahead, everybody. So make sure you keep it locked here on SEC State of Mind. If you haven't already, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube if you prefer to watch in video format. We're available on all the platforms every single episode. So that's going to do it for us this week. We look forward to covering all of it and giving you some combine updates next week. So make sure you keep it locked on SEC State of Mind. Have a great week, everybody.
Peace.